So here are the two methods in our view model. We've got add playlist and select playlist. As I explained before, this class is a POCO, a plain old CLR object. We have simple properties and methods, and we do not have any references to any user interface controls, like a label or a list view and so on. And this makes it easier to unit test this class. Now, before we get started, a couple of things I need to mention. One is that this video is not a tutorial on unit testing, because unit testing really requires its own course. It's not something I can show you in 5 minutes. What I'm going to show you in this video is how to unit test view models. And this is purely to support my argument about using MVVM. Because I told you, you should use MVVM when you want to unit test your code. Now, if you're not familiar with unit testing, it doesn't matter. Don't get scared, just watch what I'm doing. Because at least it gives you this idea of what this unit testing is all about. I don't expect you to be a unit testing expert after watching this video. I just want you to get a basic idea. So, in our solution, I have added a test project. This is an NUnit test project. And I've also installed a mocking framework called MockU or Mock, however you want to say it. And here's a simple test class. First, I'm going to rename this to playlist view model tests. Now, the first test for the add method. So add playlist. The condition we're testing is when this method is called. We don't have a pre-existing state. So what should happen when we call this method? The new playlist should be in the list. So the new playlist should be in the list. Now we're testing our view model. So I'm going to create a private field, playlist view model, and call it underline view model. Now, because this is defined in a different project, we need to add a reference to that project. So in references, I'm going to go to projects and select our PCL. Okay, beautiful. Now we're going to initialize this object in the setup method. So public void setup. And this method is called before each test. So it puts my view model in a clean state. So if I change the state of view model in one of the tests, I make sure that this will not impact other tests. So we decorate this with setup. And NUnit, our test runner, will automatically call this before each test. So here we initialized view model. And here we need an iPage service. We don't want to use the page service that uses Xamarin. So we need to provide a mock or a fake implementation of this interface. For that, we use mocking framework. So I'm going to declare a private field here of type mock of iPage service and call it page service. Let's resolve the namespace using MockU or Mock. So this is our mocking framework. Now, here I initialize page service, set it to a new mock of iPage service, and then pass this in the constructor. But note that here we need an iPage service, but we are using a mock of iPage service. So we need to use the object property. And look at the type of this property. It's an iPage service. So this will be a fake implementation of this interface. It doesn't do anything. It's just like an empty class. Now in this test, you want to call view model, add playlist command dot execute. We don't have any parameters to pass here, so no. Now we need to assert that the new playlist is in the list. So view model dot playlists. This is our observable collection, has a count property. Now this should be 1 because we have one object here. So we use assert r equal, my expected value is 1, and here's the actual value. Let's run this test. Okay, here's our test, and we have a green mark. Beautiful. Now, similarly, I can write another test for the other method. So public void select playlist when called, what should happen? One of the behaviors of this method is that it deselects the selected item. The selected item should be deselected. We decorate this with the test attribute. Now in this test, first we need to populate our playlists so we have at least one item to select. I create a new playlist object, new playlist, add it to our view model, playlists.add. Actually, we need to use a playlist view model. So our view model is in the right state. Now we want to call select playlist command, execute, and as an argument, I'm going to pass this playlist object. Now we want to assert that the selected playlist is null because it's deselected. So assert is null view model dot selected playlist. Let's run the test. Beautiful. We have two passing tests. We can write another test here. Test public void, again for select playlist method when called. This time I want to verify that isFavorite property of the playlist is toggled. So isFavorite property of playlist is toggled. Once again, we need to put our view model in the right state. So we should have at least one playlist here. So I'm going to copy these few lines here. We add one playlist to the list. We execute our select playlist command. Now I want to assert that playlist.isFavorite is true because initially it's false. Let's run the test again. Beautiful. 3 passing tests. And the final test. Public void select playlist. When called, it should navigate the user to playlist detail page. Should navigate the user to playlist detail page. Once again, I'm going to copy these few lines. Now, how do we test the navigation? Let's go back to our view model. So here we're calling push async method of page service. I can simply verify that this method is called. So our page service is a mock object and it has a method called verify. And with this, I can verify that a given method is called. So here we add the Lambda expression. P as in page goes to p.pushAsync is called. Now as the argument here, we should use a generic page object. Otherwise this test is going to fail. Because the object I create here, if I create a new playlist detail page, this is going to be a different object from the one we create here. So all we want to test is that it's the right type, but the actual instance does not matter. So mockQ has a class called it, has a few static methods. It's any, which is generic, and here we pass the target type. So playlist detail page. Now this is a method, we need to call it like this. Now we have a red underline here because page class is defined in xamarin.forms.core. So we need to add a reference. And that means we should go to our test project and add a new get package, xamarin.forms. That's it, the first one, xamarin.forms, add package. So let's run our tests. Beautiful, 4 passing tests. So this is how we write unit test for our view model. As I said earlier, there is really no time to go through unit testing in detail. So I just wanted to give you an eye opener so you have a sense of what it is like to unit test the presentation logic. But if you're interested, in the future, I'm planning to create a comprehensive course on unit testing. So keep an eye on my blog or join my mailing list to be notified. And this concludes our discussion about MVVM. I hope you enjoyed it and thank you for watching.